Okay, it says it's recording. Sometimes you just gotta trust, right? So again, hi everybody, it's Julie. Welcome to the weekly Q&A with Julie Hoffman. That's me. And tonight's a really special night. We are talking about short-term rentals and rent to own. How can that be? How do you merge two worlds like that? Well, Chad Harker and I are going to show you exactly how. And let me just rewind before we pop Chad in to share his wisdom. I met Chad. He reached out to me online and he asked me to be part of this rooftop event. And I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome." And he got 100 people on a rooftop in Kelowna, and I felt so honored to be part of this panel. It was an amazing event, and I made a whole bunch of reconnections and new connections. And if for those of you if you're seeing the OREG events, I use the same photographer that he used for his rooftop event, and she and I have kind of become buddies. Her name's Mona, and she's absolutely amazing. And so she's just helped me personally level up just as far as marketing and showing off OREG and really capturing what it's really about. And so tonight I reached out to Chad because he did this rooftop event and then it just and I know he's from Edmonton. I kept seeing him. I was like, I don't stalk him, but it might sound like I do. I kept seeing him in Kelowna. And I'm like, well, if you're in Kelowna all the time, I've got this last rent-to-own unit and a really great condo development. Why don't you have a look? Maybe it's something that's a fit for you. So we met up, we went through the house and or we went through the condo and it's not a fit for him, but he does have some really cool financial insight into it that I thought was absolutely worth sharing because so many people think that they can't get into home ownership. And I can say with confidence, with the analysis that Chad did, there are multiple ways. And so most of the successful real estate investors that I know use house hacking. And if you don't know what house hacking is, what it means is you buy a house and you rent out a couple of the rooms to help pay for the rent. And I house hacked. My husband and I both had incomes when we moved into our first little trailer off of Highway 39 out in Leduc County in Alberta, and it's still there now. And so I was helping paying rent, he was helping paying rent. Yeah, we were married and everything like that. That's still a version of a house hack because you've got more than one person helping with overhead. Craig Von Dolder, who is a very successful real estate mortgage broker, he started by house hacking. He lived in a closet so that he could have he made so much cash flow it helped him pay for university. And Chad, I discovered after having a few meetings with him, he basically house hacked his first house too, and then went on to house hack as a short-term rental. So after I showed him this house, again, we talked about all these numbers, and I was like, this is a strategy that might work for the right person. So, Chad, just introduce yourself, maybe give people a bit of your story and how you got to be in this strategy. And then we can walk through the numbers and just kind of go back and forth with some ideas. Folks, we talked ahead of time. I have notes, and we also want to answer your questions. Okay, so I think it's going to be a good night, a great. I know it's going to be filled with content. So, without further ado, welcome Chad Harker.
Thank you, Julie. And yeah, it was quite the intro how we met and all the good connections and relationships that came from it. And you're definitely a walking testimonial of that. But I liked how you talked about the guy who lived in his closet because that's almost essentially what I did. Maybe not quite to that extent, but I did move into the smallest corner of my house because I already had the basement rented and it was a traditional long term. And I tried out the Airbnb thing because I know a lot of people who aren't familiar with it, and I didn't know anything about it when I started. So I just heard all like the horror stories or the things that you see in the media about people throwing parties or like the place getting trashed. So I was like, well, there's only one way to find out about it. And I thought a lower risk option would be to do it in one of the rooms in my house. So I moved into one of those tiny bedrooms in one of the traditional bungalow, and it was pretty tiny because there was also like a spare storage room. But yeah, I tried that out on Airbnb, and even making every mistake in the book, messing so many things up and not knowing what I was doing, I was still blown away because I did more that first month than like my entire two bedroom, two bath basement suite. So yeah, that's why when you showed me this place, I thought that that would could be a good strategy, especially given the situation here in Kelowna with it having to be your primary residence.
Mhm.
And especially if you can't qualify or you're not able to get financing, it's I think it's a lot cooler to have someone else pay your mortgage. And then also if you are able to connect with someone like you, Julie, who has access and understands these creative deals, it could be a game changer. Honestly, I wish I knew you sooner because I did that with conventional financing and I had to wait longer, but I could have been in years sooner if I would have done something like this. So I love what you're doing, and that's a little bit of my background and backstory, but now I'm all about the short-term rentals. That kind of made me fall in love with the industry, and yeah, that's what I primarily focus on now.
It's awesome. And you're mostly in Edmonton,
Mostly, we're working on some projects out in Kelowna with one of the other um, well-known short-term rental operators here. But all of my personal investments and properties under my business are in Edmonton right now.
right on. Awesome. So walk us through. So, okay, I'll start with a description of this place first. All right, everybody. So it's about 850 square feet. I'm doing that off the top of my head. It might be a little bit less than that. And it has a north facing balcony, and it's in the landmark area. So what that means is it's kind of a Kelowna has downtown that's by the lake, and it's also kind of got this gentrifying area called the Landmark District that's almost becoming like a second downtown. And it's on a super bikeable route, super walkable route. And because the balcony is north facing, it's got a beautiful mountain view and city view, especially at night. So it's two bedrooms, and both bedrooms have a full private ensuite. And it's got up and down stacked laundry inside the suite, a beautiful kitchen. How high are the ceilings, do you think? Are they 14 feet or 12 feet? They're very high.
Yeah, I
They're
would
high.
there yeah, minimum like 10 or 12, I'd say for
Yeah,
sure.
super high ceiling. So even though it is less than 1,000 square feet, it feels bigger. Anyway, it's in this brand new building. They've got a dog wash, a bike wash, secure underground parking, lots of parking on the street. Again, it's in a great area, still under new home warranty. And so, as I'm talking to Chad, I'm trying to sell him this deal. Let's just be real. I'm kind of like, Chad, what do you think? Don't you think you could just set up your little short-term thing, that short-term thingy that you do, and in this bedroom? Now, come on. He's got other arrangements, totally fine. And then he said, "Well, you know what? I'm gonna put some numbers together for you." And so again, keep that in mind. Two bedrooms with their own private en suites. And so take it away.
Yeah, so with with it being like the layout it was, I thought it would be good if you were to rent out a room, especially in the summer months, or even potentially, I know a lot of people will do this in the summer, is they might even move out of their residence just for the summer or a period of time, just because of how high the demand is here for short-term rentals and how well you could do. So you could even do that, but the numbers that I ran, it was just based solely off of the room rental and if someone lived there uh all year round. And the the projections were around the top performing the nice rooms in Kelowna would do around 20 to 25,000 a year, which is pretty good, especially considering like how nice the area is. Because I agree, Julie, the Landmark district is really nice. It's almost like there's like the three hubs, like downtown, Landmark, and the
Yeah, Pandozi.
Pandozi. That's it.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's like a financial sector, so a lot of like working class people. I was looking at some of the guest demographics, and it'd probably be a working professional or a university student,
Hmm.
or for the college because it's well, the university is not really like near anything in Kelowna, but still people make the commute. But it's really close to Okanagan College too, so be a really good student rental.
And you may not know this, but UBCO is building a campus downtown.
Oh, okay, I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah. So it is a 5-minute bike ride to downtown, to like downtown. Yeah.
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 No,
So.
I would say it definitely has a it's a really nice place, and I've seen and known many different developers, and that one was done very well.
Mhm.
I must say I know they're friends of yours, but it didn't look like they cut any corners, and everything was it wasn't like builder's grade. It was all like really well done, and the amenity spaces were really nice too.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. There's like this whole shared amenity space. If you're going to have like a birthday party or a reunion, or you could have an O-rig, we could have an O-rig event in there, quite frankly. It's a nice big space with a kitchen, washroom, and this massive outside balcony. I'm going to show you some pictures. Okay, if I share my screen. Did you want to add any? Did I interrupt you, Chad?
No, share your screen, and but yeah, I would say that just I seen what you were where you were coming from and why you would want me to get it. It's just that at this stage right now, I've kind of put my reps in and I did the room rental. Um I would honestly would do it again, but I would say that for anyone getting started, or even if it's not even necessarily a room, to have a secondary suite, and if you're able to utilize it as a short-term rental or even a medium-term rental, especially here if it's your primary residence, you could easily be cash flowing a property that you're living in, and that's a pretty good situation to be in, especially with the costs of your housing costs are typically the most expensive.
Yeah, they definitely are. And so, can everybody see this? A thumbs up, Chad? Anybody? Okay, yeah, you can see the kitchen. Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful kitchen. Um, Again, look at those ceilings. They're just so high. And look at that view. Like that's a beautiful picture on a TV screen, and that's what you look at out the window. They're identical. Um, Bedrooms over here, right off the living room, and the other bedroom is basically a mirror image. And again, it's in a fantastic area. It's just a real 10 out of 10 type of property. And what I like best about it, of course, because I'm a real estate investor and I'm a creative real estate investor, is that it's $15,000 for the down payment. You have 5 years to save money or correct your credit or um,
build up
earn
some
more
equity.
income so that you can qualify. And that's lots of time. It's plenty of time. We've worked with so many people who have done this kind of strategy, and it works really, really well. So I'm just trying to stop I'm just going to stop sharing the screen for a minute. I only do about 10 Zooms a week, so I forget how to stop sharing my screen. Ah, Julie, you're so silly. Anyway, it's no bank qualify. So if you can't qualify for financing right now, you can qualify later. And if you were able to put into this a short-term rental strategy, even if it, 25,000 a year, that's the highest performing similar property, right, Chad?
That's right. But if you were to probably have a friend or a family member, or if you were to leave for any period in the summer, you could set up like a duplicate listing
Hmm.
and have it as a full unit rental, and then you would probably be able to do the equivalent amount just in the summer if you did the full unit. And it could still be your primary residence, so you wouldn't be, breaking any of the laws or restrictions here now.
Yeah.
And that's honestly what I would probably do just because I'm too much of an investor and I'm like, I'll sleep on a park bench and or a closet or anything. And you guys could pay 200, 300, 400 dollars for the nightly rate.
Mhm.
Well, I'm sleeping on a park bench. Like I'll even get a hotel at that point.
And well, and I'm just saying, worst case scenario, it only performs like half that well. And you have an additional $12,000 roughly of income happening every year. That's going to help you save faster. It can become another income stream. Now, I'm not an accountant, so talk to an accountant, but you could set up a business and have it be something where you can write off a lot of your expenses as well if you have this kind of side hustle going on. And if it's a consistent business that does well, that can actually help you in your financing application at the end of 5 years. Like Chad said, it works for some if it's somebody's principal residence. So you don't have to own the property. It just needs to be your principal residence. And if you learn how to play the short-term rental game and play it well from guys like Chad, or other, like-minded people, then that is literally a repeatable skill. Because maybe what will end up happening is 5 years from now and you buy it and you want to move on, well, you can go do it again and do it again and do it again. And so it's not only it's just something that you'll learn that can't be taken away from you. And I didn't even think about the fact that people are way less likely, of course, to to behave if you're there. If like the owner is there and staying there. And that said, Chad, what for the okay, so let me tell you what comes to my mind when I first when I hear about this kind of thing. Because my kids have stayed at short-term rentals where it's just a room in somebody's house, and the rest of the people are there. Look, what's that like? Is it awkward? And how do you get over that awkwardness? I mean, am I crazy? Am I the only one kind of thinking that? I don't think I am. There's got to be at least one other person who's thinking that. What 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 what's up with that?
Uh yeah, like I've only had I think three guests try to kill me in my sleep. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. It's no, no, it's actually not bad, not that bad at all. Like if especially if you've ever had roommates or I'm just joking, everyone.
Okay.
But
That's awesome.
but no, for real, it's really not that bad at all. You get used to it pretty quick, and I'm like, especially if you're working or you got other things on the go, and honestly, primarily, a lot of people who are booking these kind of rooms, they're booking it just because they need a place to sleep. They're like literally there just for the night and they're crashing and they're done. Or they have work the next day, they're going to school the next day. And that's pretty much what I found with my experience is it was you're going to be in a different segment of the market. It's either going to be workers or students, or I even actually had a lot of people too that were maybe in between possessions of their properties that they were purchasing. I even had some good referrals for people who were purchasing a place in Edmonton when I was doing this, or that they wanted to purchase a place and they ended up like buying properties off my friends that were realtors. So really, it's a good demographic, and this is holds true with any short-term rental. You want to do a good job of screening your guests, and we like require security deposits. We have a signed renters agreement, so it's similar to a lease, but they just won't have long-term tenants rates, but it's still a legally binding agreement for short-term rentals. So you want to make sure you're putting those measures in place so you are protected and you are screening the guest properly. You could actually filter it on Airbnb and say only allow guests that have 5-star reviews, only guests that have a verified ID, only guests that have um, a profile picture so you know who's going to be coming. And you could ask them questions or you could just put request to book on. I you get a good boost in the algorithm if you put instant book on, so I always did that. And then but I would just have it with the criteria of some of those parameters. And then I would still, ask them like, what brings you to town? Like, is there anything I could do or help you with? And yeah, so I would just say that that's like the main thing. But living with someone with it can like, sure, there's been some weird, maybe weird situations, and I got some funny stories when I was first starting out, but probably 99% of people are fantastic, and they're literally just want a place to sleep, especially if you're doing the room thing and you're living there.
Mhm. Um, and let's face it, people, when I travel, I want a kitchen and I want it to kind of feel like home. I do. I don't know what it is. I may not even necessarily use the kitchen, but it just feels more like home than it does versus a hotel. I know there are tons of hotels. At the same time, I'd much rather stay at a nice Airbnb. And people want to be able to do laundry. People want, again, to just feel comfortable. And so this kind of place would definitely offer that. All right, so I'm going to throw some numbers out to everybody so that because so I don't get a million questions. The rental price, and this is not this doesn't go toward anything. It's just rent. It's $3,500 a month. And some of you might think, "Oh, that's pretty high." And it is a little bit high. And there is a lot of rentals available. There are we kind of have a saturated rental market in Kelowna right now. That said, this is the price of entry to start your home ownership journey sooner rather than later. And on top of that expense, it's strata fees, which are not very much. I don't want to misquote, so I can anybody that's interested in this opportunity, just schedule with me. I'll put that link in the chat, and I believe Chad already put his contact information in the chat. And for those of you watching this recording, all of our contact information is going to be nearby. Okay, so keep that in mind. Even if even at 3,500, if you're able to make around $1,000 a month, then now you've got a rental payment of more around 2,500, which is actually pretty reasonable. Uh, and and again, it's that step toward home ownership that I tell you what, it is so fun to help people with this kind of thing. It's okay if I share a story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just got off the phone with Trisha and Mike. They live in Ontario. A year ago, we started a rent to own with them. And Mike was kind of not working much, kind of not that motivated too. And Trisha was a little discouraged, and they had this opportunity to buy this house. And so we just did one of our numerous check-ins because that's part of the program because you gotta make sure that people are moving closer and closer to the goal line. They've paid off like $3,000 worth of debt. He got a brand new job that's got a income matching retirement plan. So every time he deposits, the company does too. He's making way more money. He's already got himself hired out to go work in Fort McMurray for 3 months and make some really big money. He has an absolute fire under his butt. And they are so happy. And maybe best of all is that for about 5 years, their kids were living in this moldy house, suffering from terrible asthma. And they haven't had any asthma since moving into this new house over the last year. And so I'm telling you, this strategy is a lot of fun. So if you're somebody out there or you know somebody out there that you just don't think home ownership is possible, let me tell you that it is. It absolutely is. And it is literally it brings me joy to help people like I said get closer to the goalpost. Um so and back to Craig and Chad. How badly do you want it? If you're, yes, is it going to be uncomfortable? Would it be kind of weird? I don't know. It sounds like a lot of work. Maybe, but how badly do you want home ownership? Chad's willing to sleep in a closet. Greg's willing to sleep in a closet. I have known people who they just go from campground to campground in BC and then rent out their big ass house. all summer long. That's what they do. Like people with pools in their backyard and stuff like that. There's just all kinds of ways. And what it does is for these particular people, I worked with this lady. I was volunteering, and they would go just camp, and rent out their house in the summertime, and that enabled her to be able to stay home with her kids. So she didn't have to get like a part-time job to help with income. So she was in charge of it all. She did all the bedding changes. She worked her butt off all summer long. And the reward was that she got to, just always be there for her kids when they were little ones. It's a great strategy. Um, okay. Anything else to add, Chad?
No, if you want to dive into the numbers, and I would say there's also something to be said about developing the skill of running and managing a short-term rental, even if it's just one room, because that's what allowed me to build up that skill set to like I manage 15 other homes now, and it also allowed me to get into the door of other properties that I have now purchased. So I would say that the skill set and the knowledge that I gained along the way was probably one of the best assets or thing something that I got out of it that I was able to leverage into more deals or more properties.
And more cash flow because that's got to be further income streams for you, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That home now I actually moved out of it. I still have the basement rented, but the entire main floor is now a short-term rental, so it's doing really well.
It's good. That's good. Okay, so you want to share your screen, or are you just gonna just kind of? By the
Oh no,
way,
like I
this
thought
is the first Zoom I've ever done where somebody is standing on the street. You're in Kelowna. You're down in what street are you on?
I'm like close to downtown. I actually
Yeah.
I I thought it was tomorrow and I double booked myself and I have some friends waiting for me for like a dinner reservation. So
Uh-huh.
I'm like I'm gonna be late. I wasn't gonna ditch you. I just messed it up on my calendar, but yeah, no, I'm like just out here hanging out with my laptop. It's fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely recognize this is great. Okay, yeah, so let's dive into the numbers and maybe people have a few questions and we'll let you go eat.
Okay. Yeah, well, I honestly the numbers are they're pretty like if anyone has any questions with the numbers or any questions at all, I'd be happy to provide answers on it, but I were called DNA, which allows you and you could put filters in place. So I put a filter on by the room, how many days available it was. So this was based off of it being available 365 days a year. And the and I also want to look to make sure it wasn't just like an anomaly. So there was I think like three or four that were in that range of 20,000 to 25,000 a year, and that's where I got those numbers from, and I find that they're pretty accurate because I've seen my own properties on there, and they're pretty much on the money.
So just to, because it got a little spotty in there, what you did in order to analyze this so that you could be accurate was you put it into a program. What's it called?
It's called Air DNA. I could put it
Air DNA. Yeah.
Yeah, I could put it in the chat, but it's pretty reliable. You need a subscription for it to get like some of the best data, but and I also have like another one, and this one is really good if you have properties. It's called Price Labs, and it's a dynamic pricing software, but and you could see exactly the days that they have booked and for how much. So it gives you really good insight on like how much people are actually making and what they're charging. And if you have a property, then you could see uh if they're booked out and you're not, kind of what the difference is or the gap in the price and how you could make corrections or changes.
All right. So Air DNA, and can you pop in the chat there that other
Yeah.
program that you talked about? That'd be awesome. Um, and any, you know, do you have one story, a short story that you can share of a bit of an adventure that you had?
Um
I'm putting you on the
Yeah.
spot. So if you can't
No,
think of it, it's okay.
I got I got I got a few for sure. There's probably like one pretty memorable time where I actually had my basement suite tenant come upstairs because we were re-signing the lease and I had guests staying and the algorithm to allow for pets and like I tried to get every single amenity I could at the property. So the I had the guests that they were staying and they had a cat and we were sitting at the kitchen table and he's like, "Oh, like I didn't even know you had a cat and we're signing his lease for downstairs." And I was like, "Oh, are you cool with cats?" He's like, "No, like I'm pretty scared." I was like, "Oh, well, it's pretty chill. Like it'll just relax and do its thing." I had no idea it wasn't my cat, but so we're sitting there and then like next thing you know, this cat like jumps like right on his chest on his neck and he like totally freaked out, like lost it, and then it was probably like one of the funniest things I ever seen. But and he's like a bigger guy too, so it was kind of funny to see him freak out over this like little kitten. And probably another good one was I had like I think on the first one of the first guests, it was like the second guest because I started in December and it was on Christmas Day. They plugged the toilet. I had another guest checking in, and I was with my dad on like I was with my family and I was like asked my dad, I was like, want to go on a mission to try to unclog this toilet before the next guest checks in. So we ended up like having my elbows in a toilet on like Christmas. And wasn't like as that gross, but it was like they put like a whole thing of toilet paper in there. So it's just a fun thing on Christmas to do with your dad bonding. But also like just some of the not glamorous things that people not uh usually don't mention. Always talk about how much money you could make, but sometimes you're gonna have to roll up your sleeves and put your hand in a toilet to fish out toilet paper on Christmas Day. But now it's like we got good teams, good systems, and you learn a lot. So now I would never be in that situation again. But if it came down to it, I wouldn't ask anyone to do something I wouldn't do myself.
Yeah,
And but yeah, those were a couple. I got a few for sure, but those were just a couple that I could think of off the top of my head.
yeah. Good stories. You're hilarious. The funniest, though, definitely the funniest part of this whole event was you only had three people try to kill you in your sleep. Man,
Yeah.
you really got me. I wonder if my eyes kind of bugged out.
Yeah, you're just like, wouldn't it be weird living with someone and you didn't see that coming? No,
Awesome.
but one thing you can actually do, and what I did is I'll put like locks on the door with a key. So
Mhm.
then I could lock my room and you should have your personal stuff locked up. And it also makes guests feel safe. Like because I'm a single guy and I had like single girls staying with me that I wanted them to feel safe and they're like living with some random guy on Airbnb. Like they still booked it, but I don't know, maybe not everyone's as cool as me. But yeah,
Definitely not.
it's just good to like you could feel safe and they could feel safe and
Yeah,
but yeah, there's some good story good stories for sure.
that's awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. Now's the time for some questions. If anybody has questions, you can type them into the chat or you can raise your hand. I'll do my best to unmute you and see who's raising their hand. And
I
maybe
have
you're
a
just a
question.
bunch of sponges. Oh, somebody's talking. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hey Chad, big fan. Love your work.
Oh my God, Derek. I've been
What up,
trying to find
Derek?
you, man. But anyway, here we are. I'm like stalking Derek,
Good to see
but
you both. My question is regarding financing for mortgages. If the banks know that you're going to be short-term renting the property, I hear that they become a lot more stringent with, the rates and the lending. So I'm wondering, yeah, how you navigate that. And also, I have a follow-up question, but I kind of want to just start with there.
That's a really good question, and I didn't even realize you were here, Derek. I'm pretty sure we're hanging out with Shavin for the really good question with the financing because you're 100% right. Lenders do not like short-term rentals. They don't like short-term rental income. 90 90% of them aren't even going to look at it. They don't care if you're making 200K a year. Like if you were doing a single fund stable and we have want nothing to do with it. But what I've done and what you can do that is effective is essentially you would just rate a long-term lease. So Julie was talking about having a corporation. So that corporation can be a separate entity than yourself, and it has that separation. So let's say you were doing the room or a basement suite, you just have like I forget what your business name is, but let's just say your business name is personally renting it to you on a long-term basis. But you just need to make sure it is like that's actually what's happening both on the accounting standpoint from your business and from your personal name. So your business is sending you that long-term rental rate, whatever it is that you
Mhm.
determine every month.
Mhm.
And that's what I've done, and it's worked. But you need to understand, like you have to work with a fantastic mortgage broker. I know Julie knows some good people. I know
Mhm.
some good people, and certain lenders won't like to see a corporate lease on a residential property, but some don't have any issues. Like I know from experience, BMO is really good, and they don't care about that. And I personally did a refi using the same strategy for one of my properties, and that property a long-term renter has never stepped foot in.
Mhm. So basically, you've got a sublease situation going on.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. So that's just a really good way to get around the financing element because that's a really good question, and
Mhm.
no one usually thinks of this until they go to the bank and they're like, we're not like none of this counts whatsoever.
So then it's the
Yeah,
corporation buying the property then, right?
No,
rent.
no, this would be you, your personal, like if you were personally investing, you can do the corporate route again, but then it would be like a corporation maybe doing renting it from a corp, or it's just a mortgage under the corp, which would be a different uh thing entirely. But if you were trying to personally buy a property and get the benefits of it being your primary residence, the
Mhm.
5% down and like some of the other things with capital gains with purchasing it as a primary residence, then it would need to be under your personal name. So your corporation would be the one who'd be leasing it back to you.
Got
Or
you.
you'd be leasing it to your corp, sorry.
Mhm.
There we go. Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so everybody needs to understand though, you got to play you got to if you're buying a property as a personal as a principal residence, you've got to live there at least 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And if you want to rent part of your house and rent it to a corporation, then great. But if you're moving in, if you're getting the loan based on you're moving in and getting 5% down, you've got to make sure and actually do that. Nobody wants to be everybody's got to do everything above board, 100%.
Yeah, and certain lenders actually are starting to qualify short-term rental income. I know BMO does and ATB and CIBC,
Mm,
they all have programs, but usually it is only for your primary residence and you
mm,
need to have at least a couple years of proof of income. So when
yeah,
you're doing, and you could pull all these reports off Airbnb, but
yeah.
um, I didn't want to wait 2 years with this situation. You'd have a 5-year term, so you'd have plenty of time to get your ducks in a row and maybe talk with someone first about the financing or refinance. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because they are like certain lenders will take it into account with certain uh restrictions or like certain criteria.
Derek, did you have another question or did
Yeah,
okay?
if that's cool.
Yeah.
My question was just regarding like when you're running projections on AirDNA and Price Labs, how credible are these for the lenders in their eyes?
I've never actually had any experience with that, so I wouldn't.
Okay.
I would say you would just have to have the proof, like the evidence, the receipts, the leases in place, because that's what the lenders are going to want to look at, and they'll also want to look at the bank statements. Because
Hmm.
and usually it's 3 months. Sometimes you could get away with it. Another thing you could do, and that I've done before as well, is you could just ask for what's called a market rent evaluation. So let's say you just bought a place and you don't have it rented out yet, or you renovated a place and you just finished the renovations. You could ask the lender to do a market rent evaluation. Usually this doesn't, they would put less weight on this than if you had long-term leases in place. So you might not be able to get the as much qualification room as you would like. That's why the long-term lease is usually the best.
Hmm.
But I've done the market rent evaluation because I just didn't have the bank statements. I didn't have everything set up right away. And they accepted that too. And I just told them that we just finished the renovations of this property and we're looking to get it rented out, but we don't yet. And they accepted that.
Okay.
Yeah. And Derek, you met Craig Mundolder at the event, right?
Um, that was the mortgage broker?
Yeah. Yeah.
Briefly, yes.
Do
Yeah.
you have it? I'll make sure you have his contact. He's the best person to talk to you about financing for investment properties, for sure.
Okay, sweet. My girlfriend's a mortgage broker, so I just won't tell her that.
Oh, well, no, like have her come along because then she'll know how to do what he does.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I'm
And
just joking. Yeah,
all right, everybody. I'm supposed to be the funny one.
yeah.
What's with all the comedians in the room? I actually love it. So awesome. Okay. Any more questions? No. Going once?
I
Going
gotta hop
twice?
off. So, but thanks for the presentation. This was great. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the good questions, man. See you
Peace.
Friday.
Yeah, for sure.
I assume my invitation for Friday is in the mail. Yeah. Okay, so and there's the mail strike. That's why. I get it. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. No worries. All right, before we hop off, I like to leave everybody with a quote. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones that you did. So throw off the bowlines. It's a sailing term. Sail away from the safe harbor. Catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore, dream, discover. That's from Mark Twain. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Okay, love it. Thank you, Julie.